Hello and welcome back, everyone, to our third and final part of this interview series with mayamada co-founder Lao, mayamada co-founder and Serious creator Lao. So we've been talking about the Serious story, about the Kickstarter campaign, this new story that we are doing inspired by the pandemic. And for this final part, we're going to talk about some of the lessons that we're looking to sort of impart in this story. And what I was thinking when I thought of the idea to put together this new Serious story is to bring out sort of lessons from, uncertain times like these that young people could perhaps be empowered by and maybe sort of focus on, take on in their own lives. And sort of like for me, it comes down to how to keep sight of like a goal in just chaotic times like these, and leadership. So I guess starting with leadership, like what does that mean to you? Because you work, I know from time to time you work with other young people. What does that mean to you?
It's a really good question. It's actually, it shouldn't be that tough to answer, to be honest. But I would kind of summarize it by leadership is basically having a vision and kind of showing people where to go, which means that you have to do something. It's not people doing something for you. It's actually you serving other people, and basically directing them as a team. It's a lot about being an example in a nutshell. Yeah,
I get that. Yeah, and it was very just like tough and challenging for me in this time, because I mean I've come across it sort of many times while running mayamada, but particularly in this time where as a leader you're faced with some moments where someone asks you a question and you don't know the answer, like not at all, just not in the slides, but you have to, like you say, give some kind of direction for people. So I mean, I can imagine like with Blake being the leader in this story, he's the one with the vision, and then he's the one that would have to give those answers to people that are asking questions like, what do we do? How are we going to keep this this business going? So yeah, and like we've got this time of just, I guess, chaos is the only kind of word. It's just so uncertain and unpredictable. And when you think about how to maintain your vision in that, like how do you do that? How do you think, or what do you think is the best way to do that?
Yeah, maintaining vision is something that I think it is a little bit of a skill that you need to work at. So when a pandemic hits, if it's something you haven't really done before, it can be quite difficult. But ultimately what you're doing is you're using your imagination in the right way. So like typically what we would do if something bad happens is our imagination would kick in and we would start picturing all the negative things that might happen to us or the situation. But we actually have the ability to look at things from a positive perspective. And I think it just happens when you ask the right kind of questions. So, for example, for this one, you might be saying, okay, COVID-19's hit, but, what are the kind of things that I look forward to doing once it's over? Who are the kind of people I want to speak with? What kind of things would we do? What will I enjoy doing once everything's all said and done with? And, then you start dreaming and picturing. And the more you do that kind of exercise, the easier it becomes, because then as you kind of go through this thing, you can kind of go back to those pictures. And honestly, it's genuinely a choice to even look at things from oh man, this is a bad situation. And by the way, I don't mean to say that, the situation isn't bad, because a bad situation is a bad situation. It's actually quite healthy to admit that. But, none of us, to my knowledge, are, able to see the future. So we are very free. If we're going to look at it from a negative perspective, we're also very free to look at it from a positive perspective.
Yeah.
Because we just don't know what's going to happen. So it's okay to do that, and we shouldn't feel guilty for kind of having an optimistic or positive way of looking at things. So yeah, that's one really cool exercise I think can help maintain vision in these sorts of times.
Okay. And then sort of off the back of that, like with, our stories are all ages, but just because of the work I do with schools and youth hubs and young people, I always try and keep them in mind in like the stories and activities that we do. So I know I've spoken to a few youth organizations who are, just trying to figure this out and have young people who need support because their school year has been massively disrupted, or even people sort of slightly older who are leaving college or leaving university, and like what are we going into? Like, how would you see them, or what advice would you give for them approaching the rest of the year and beyond in all this?
That's a really big question, but
I know we only deal with big questions on
I definitely want to at least hear what their experience has been like up until that point, because a lot of the times people want to share their story and what they've gone through, and then I really want to encourage them and just like I said previously, just point them to some of the possibilities that are out there for them based on what they tell me. So I don't know, maybe if it's someone that's looking to start uni, and they're not sure if they're still going to be able to do it, just to say, well, like there's a good chance universities want to, get back up and running. And they'll want students to enroll, and they're probably looking at ways to make sure that happens. So, there's hope for you. And it's really, I guess if I could summarize it, I'd say it would be injecting hope in them, like whatever the situation is, helping them to see that, there is a good chance that things could actually work out quite well, if you're willing to kind of consider it. But I think like more practically, like what can they do today? I think people have to kind of start where they are. Like obviously when we look at like the rest of the year, that's a long time, and who knows what I can do, but there's always something you can do today. And I would always encourage anyone to just look at, all right, what can you do today that would make a difference? Doesn't have to be anything major. For example, someone might just want to, I don't know, maybe someone was like a baker and they wanted to sell their cupcakes or something, or they wanted to get into baking or something like that, or someone wanted to get into like, I don't know, physics or whatnot. I'd say, well, you know what, like maybe try an online course, maybe come up with some experiments today that you'd like to try out. There's always going to be something you can do, and as long as it's not like just a gigantic step, as long as it's something that is achievable on the day, even if it's just picking up a book or picking up a phone to speak to someone about it, I think that's something that can make a difference. And then all you've got to do from there is do the same thing the next day and the next day and the next day. And before you know it, the pandemic's over, but you've actually made so much progress because you just decided to do something positive that day. And it wasn't anything, like I said, that was massive, but it was just all these little bits that have added up over time.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think even for some of the stuff that I've been doing, like particularly for, we were just talking about our gamepad event, that we recently did the first online gamepad event. And that was from a position where sort of genuinely me thinking like what do we do? I don't know what to do, because our gamepad event, we've been doing that for years, and it's been a physical event, and we had one that was scheduled for the summer that obviously we had to cancel. So it was kind of, wow, we don't know when events are coming back in a physical way, but just having to think and then continuously work on other sort of positive ideas. And we got, was in the end like a really good online event that we can now build on and continue doing, even alongside physical events when we can do that. And that only comes from actually, like you mentioned before, sort of acknowledging where you are. So whereas I have no prospect of doing physical events anytime soon, and then trying to sort of think, at least in that scope, like think positively what can be done instead. So yeah, I think that's really good advice. Out of interest, have you seen Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I was encouraged to watch it by someone.
Was that
I think
me?
it was you.
Yeah, it was probably
It
me.
may have been
should,
you. Oh, do you know what? No, it wasn't. It wasn't you. You said
okay.
you were watching it. In fact, I think it was on one of the podcasts. I think you said you just finished it.
Yeah.
One of the podcast episodes. It was another friend who almost scolded me for not having watched it. He was like, "You need to watch it."
Yeah, rightfully so.
So is it really that good?
It's really, really good. Like, I know this is kind of slightly off topic, but I'm going to bring it back. But it's like in terms of stories, like and storytelling, I'd put it up as one of the best shows, like full stop, not just a kids show or a cartoon. Just it's executed so well and so tightly. Like it's like I mean, I know like you're a basketball fan, so even if you don't play basketball, you could recognize like when LeBron James does something that is just top level basketball. It's the same watching the show. I'm just like, you've done that so well. And I'm just admiring how you've done it. So rightfully scolded for that. But the reason I bring it up is that there is a character who's arguably the best character in the show, Uncle Iroh. And he has this quote, which I'm going to, as we wrap up, I'm just going to end on because it's such a good quote. And he basically says, this is going to like mean nothing to you, but you'll get it when you see it. But he says, sometimes life is like this dark tunnel. You can't always see the light at the end of the tunnel, but if you just keep moving, you will come to a better place. So I slightly spoiled that for you, but don't worry, it will come together when you watch it. But yeah, I remember as I was thinking about the story and just the pandemic in general, that actually stuck in my head. And that character is just full of wisdom all throughout the series. So yeah, definitely watch it. And then, yeah, for everyone who hasn't watched it, watch it and just keep that quote in mind to keep moving and try as best as you can to think positively. So yeah, just to wrap up, I guess, like obviously we've all spent a considerable amount of time indoors. It gives a lot of time for watching Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever your choice is. What stories have you been catching up on during this pandemic?
Yes, so it's definitely been a lot of films. I don't really do TV shows. I tried to watch a little bit of a show called Is it Extant? Sci-fi. Apparently it's like
Never heard of it.
really, really, really good. Like it's the best sci-fi ever. But yeah, I'm still on the first episode, so I can't talk about that. But no, we watched The Hobbit, all three of them.
Right.
Pretty much back to back. And that was just epic. I really enjoyed it. And the funny thing is, yeah, like I love watching films after the hype's died down because I can just watch it with just like no bias.
Right.
Like, is this going to be entertaining or not? And I liked The Hobbit, man. I thought it was really cool.
Okay.
Loved going back to Middle Earth. Just, yeah, I thought it was great. And now I want to actually go back and watch Lord of the Rings. But the other one, which is kind of an unexpected, I don't know if I can use the word hit, but it definitely left an impression, let's say that. So we were looking for something to watch one Friday evening, and I was like, just off the cuff. I was just like, well, there's John Wick. 3 films later, we were just like, whoa, this is mad. And now I understand there's going to be a 4th.
I still
that film.
I need to watch that series. It's been suggested to me. I still have to get on it.
Well, like I said, this was in one single weekend, like whole trilogy done. So if that's anything to go by,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's almost like, how can I describe John Wick? without getting into all the plot and all that stuff. It's like a fascinating creature that you just can't help but look at. But it's but there's issues.
Right.
There's things that, you know, it's like, whoa, this is kind of freakish, but wow, this is mad.
But you enjoyed
so
it.
it's a bit like that. Oh man, I think we needed a whole other podcast.
Okay. All right.
Well, enjoyment isn't quite the word, but it was a compelling watch.
Okay.
I'll say that much.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, if you want to know more, demand another podcast.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Because it is quite a story to talk about.
All right, I'll watch it, and then maybe some future time we'll have you back on the podcast, and then you can break that down.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, then. So we're going to wrap up and just say thank you to Lao for joining me to talk about the Serious story.
Yeah, it's been great.
Cool. And thanks for everyone for watching this. Hopefully you are considering backing our campaign. Like we said, we're doing this story as a way to, I guess, bring some positivity, some empowerment, and some focus on sort of lessons and sort of good outcomes that can still be had in a situation like the one we are in. So we want to make this manga story with a message, and so just please consider backing our campaign, getting one of the rewards. We have sort of the Volume 1 book, the new pandemic story. We've got artwork, we've got digital physical rewards, and we've also got the chance to be a character in the new story. So check out the page, consider backing, share the story with your friends and followers. We are at mayamada on Twitter, at mayamadatees on Instagram, and when we can all do physical events, hopefully we'll get to see some of our backers at a convention, probably in 2021 now, but at some point. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again soon.